And a very good Sunday evening. I'm meteorologist Joe Bartosik coming to you from the Alaska News Source digital desk, where every week at this time we go a little in depth to talk about the various weather players, as I like to call them, quote unquote, that are shaping up the weather for South Central as well as the state of Alaska as we head on into at least the next 7 days. And maybe if we're lucky, we can glimpse on a little bit farther in time than that. And it's an important time as we are now closing out the month of April. And I'll just give you some stats real quick. We're going to end up the month, provided that we don't get any higher than 49 today, as the 8th coolest April on record. When you average all the highs and lows together, the whole average temperature for the month looks like it'll pan out to be 32.4 degrees, the 8th coolest on record. It's also the 11th snowiest April on record as well. It's also going to be the latest, one of the latest times that we've ever waited to see 50 degrees. We'll talk about that here in just a second. All right, wanted to remind everybody that we are seeing the last forecast for the regular avalanche season being issued this morning, and that continues or officially expires at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. But still, even heading on into the upcoming week, considerable risk of avalanches for areas above 2,500 feet. That's called alpine. From tree line to alpine, 1,000 to 2,500 feet, a moderate risk of avalanches, lower risk as we work our way down toward the base of the mountain. We'll continue to see an unstable snowpack as we round out or head into the month of May, especially as we see another series of storm systems working on through, plus that higher sun angle once we get rid of this next storm, really beating on down on that snow. There's still anywhere from 3 to 7 feet of snow in Turnagain Pass area. We've got a nice little interview with Andrew Shower, the lead forecaster at Chugach National Forest Avalanche Information Center, coming up tonight at 10 on the late edition. Please tune in for that to kind of recap the season. Want to show you outside right now. Speaking of snow, yes, that is snowflakes, unfortunately, falling at the higher elevations there outside of Eagle River at our tower cam there. So I just needed to show you that because that just started happening here within the past half hour or so. Pretty remarkable month indeed. And unfortunately, even as we head into these first few days of the month of May, we have enough cold air in place that yes, you work your way up about maybe 700 feet or so, especially around 1,000 feet up in elevation, we'll easily see some wet snow continuing to fly as this next storm system continues to move on through. So unfortunately, not done with the snow just yet. Yes, probably in the Anchorage Bowl, but not so for you folks that live up on hillside, especially in that higher elevations there around Eagle River, and maybe even up toward the Talkeetna Mountains as well. So we'll just kind of, the sun does win out. I promise you the sun does win out. We'll get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time this year, unfortunately. All right, high temperatures from today. We were so close today, folks. 49 degrees was the official high at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. Yeah, 53 though in Wasilla, 55 in Palmer. What a beautiful day across the region today, starting off especially this morning where we had clear blue sunny skies. Temperature started off milder than where we've been at 37 degrees, but still not able to squeak out that 50 thanks to the increasing clouds from today. As I like to say, the clouds stole our opportunity for 50 and they also stole our sunshine, to borrow the title from a once popular top 40 song. All right, our first 50-degree day. Over the past 30 years, we usually hit it around April 25th. So, okay, so we're 5 days late compared to the 30-year average. Last year, though, we already did it. We've already been above 50 degrees for a week now. April 23rd is when we hit 52 degrees last year. You can see the listing of the past 10 years when we've hit 50 degrees or higher for the first time, and yeah, already well past that. And I think we're going to rival some of the latest dates that we've seen 50 degrees here if we don't do it here before Friday. It looks like Friday is probably going to be our next opportunity to hit that 50-degree mark. All right, heading on into a time-lapse view, I believe is what I have next. Yeah, from the beautiful morning that we had this morning, looking from that same Eagle River sky cam where it's snowing now, down toward Turnagain Arm and Kinnick Arm and the inlet. We continue to see our result today, that blue sky, high-level clouds starting to stream in during the late morning, early afternoon hours, and now, yes, that wave of moisture is making its way on through. Here is the surface radar from a local radar site here in town. We are seeing that moisture working its way on through. Still some dry air in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. I've been watching outside of our Midtown studio window here to see if any of that moisture is reaching the ground. Doesn't appear to be doing so in Midtown. However, it's likely falling as, again, some rain down right along the inlet there in the arm along the Glen Highway. But again, just work your way to the east. We're send up just a couple hundred feet in elevation. Yeah, we definitely have snow that's flying. And again, once again, there's proof one more time. Pretty remarkable. Again, reducing visibility as well. That's definitely some wet, sloppy snowflakes coming on down there right now. All right, as we expand the view on the radar scope and we can see around the rest of South Central, we kind of have the opposite going on from what we had yesterday. We had the heaviest rain around central and eastern areas of Prince William Sound. Today, we flip-flopped that. We're seeing precipitation across the Kenai Peninsula and over into the western Cook Inlet area, lower Susitna Valley. Starting to see that moisture. This is all out ahead of a bigger, larger storm system that will be arriving here over the next 24 hours. Currently, again, not seeing any rain officially falling at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. It's cloudy and 42 degrees, but it is raining in Kenai at 42. We're also seeing areas of rain, a chilly rain at that in Seward at 39. Rain in Valdez at 43. Cordova right now currently dry, but moisture still lurking just offshore at 42 degrees. Sun has given way to clouds across Wasilla and Palmer, where we've cooled down from our highs in the 50s into the upper 40s to around 50 degrees. And you can see that cooler air as a result of, or that temperature change as a result of the clouds and the moisture coming in from the west, about 4 degrees cooler than this time yesterday here in Anchorage. Jesse just posted a nice, funny comment. It's springtime in Alaska when it's 40. So, yeah. Usually we like to see 50 first, Jesse, but, you know, hey, we're doing the best that we can here. All right. As that next storm system moves on in, yes, the highest amounts of precipitation will continue to be across the higher terrain, across the southern Kenai, the eastern Kenai, on into much of those Prince William Sound locations. Yes, some of this will fall again as some frozen precipitation, some wet, heavy snowflakes in and around the higher terrain around Whittier Portage on down through Turnagain Pass and on into Thompson Pass as well. It looks like southern portion of Valdez and Cordova will likely stay as all rain. In fact, Cordova definitely going to see rain. Valdez still a little bit on the fence, definitely down towards sea level, likely staying as a chilly rain, even as we head into Tuesday as additional moisture and energy continues to work its way on in from the west. But take a look from Kenai up toward Anchorage on into Wasilla, only just a couple hundredths to a couple tenths of an inch of rain. So looks like downsloping mountains definitely working in our favor. It'll keep clouds around though, but at least not much in the way of moisture falling and reaching the ground. And admittedly, we could probably use a nice little steady soaking rain to kind of help settle the dust. What we've also noticed over the past 24 hours is an increase in those winds. Maximum wind gusts today, 35 miles an hour in Palmer, 33 in Anchorage, 30 in Seward, 20 in Seldovia. We'll watch those continue to increase as we head in through the first part of the overnight hours. Take a look at some of this gray and white. That's indicative of potentially some the very highest terrain, seeing winds of about 60 to 70 miles an hour. That's just gusts. So sustained winds still, yeah, about 30 to maybe 40 miles an hour. So watch it if you're doing any kind of traveling later tonight down along the Seward Highway, along the arm, as you work your way from let's see, Bird Point, or working from basically, yeah, from Potter's Marsh down through Bird Point over toward Girdwood as well. And then as you head on in through Turnagain Pass, going to see some increasing winds there as well, on the order of about 40 to maybe 45, 50 miles an hour. So hillside, higher terrain, south and east of town, definitely be on guard for some gusty winds, wind rustling through those trees pretty good tonight. It'll stay gusty as we head on in through the morning hours on Monday, as well as into the midday hours as well, and then really not starting to slacken up until late Monday afternoon and evening. We still see anywhere from about 35 to 45 mile an hour wind gusts in the hillside and areas again and the higher terrain outside of Potter Marsh. So we'll look for that to finally begin to subside as we head in through the morning hours on Tuesday. Southeast, don't want to forget about you. You too are going to see a return to some active weather as this next storm system moves on through. Take a look at Juneau, an inch of rain by later on Tuesday. When you combine Monday and Tuesday's rainfall, Haines about a quarter, or an inch and a quarter, about 2.5 inches of moisture working its way on into Yakutat for Monday and Tuesday. Here's the culprit. Big, strong area of low pressure deepening, intensifying still just to the north of Unalaska. We'll continue to see those winds gusting counterclockwise around that area of low pressure. And we've seen those wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour, 54, excuse me, around Atka today. 53 mile an hour is the maximum wind gust so far in Cold Bay. We've already reached 45 in King Salmon, and as I mentioned earlier, 33 mile an hour maximum wind gust so far in Anchorage and Kodiak. That is likely to increase once again as we head in through the overnight hours. All that storm system will begin supplying that moisture that will be wrung out in earnest across the higher terrain of southern Kenai on into the western Prince William Sound locations, and then on into the northern portions of southeast Yakutat down toward Haines, up toward Skagway, and possibly into the capital as we head into early Tuesday morning. Now, with that moisture does come some warmer air. And take a look at this very carefully. You can kind of see, if you watch the ice a little slowly there, starting to thin. And it looks like we'll have to watch the tripod here very, very carefully over the next couple of days. It might go. This is actually the statistical peak or statistical time when that tripod at Nenana falls. So we'll watch that very carefully for those of you that have those guesses in for the first couple days of May. We'll see how that goes. All right. Next up on the rundown here is a look at the upper level winds. This is what drives the weather across the globe. And right now we're seeing the air still coming down from the North Pole, occupying much of eastern Siberia, much of the Bering, the western half of the state. That is why we've been so cold and, yes, so snowy throughout the month of April as a result of just that flow of air coming right down from the North Pole and carving out what's called a trough of low pressure in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. That is what provides the energy for the surface lows, the storms that impact us here at the ground. And as long as we see that troughiness continuing over eastern Bering, Bristol Bay, southwest coast, up toward the Seward Peninsula, yeah, we're going to stay under the gun for an active storm track for these storms to track right from the Aleutians or the North Pacific right on up into the central and northern areas of the Gulf of Alaska and continue to bring us some chilly temperatures as well as precipitation with, yes, temperatures cold enough in those higher elevations of the Chugach Range to still see areas of snow. That will continue to be the case on Tuesday and on into Wednesday. Just can't seem to shake it. There's some blocking going on the other side of the world that's preventing this pattern from really breaking on down. And what doesn't help really is that big ridge of high pressure that extends all the way across from Texas. We see from Texas to Denver up toward Billings, Montana, and up into Edmonton, Canada there. That's also part of the big blocking pattern that's helping to just keep that colder air coming down across the western part of the state of Alaska, including us here into south central, southwest, and on into the Aleutians as well. That low pressure will begin to make its way onshore slowly by late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. So counterclockwise wind flow again continuing to pump in the moisture from the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific on into south central. Yes, the mountains will work in Anchorage's favor at times to prevent moisture from reaching the ground, but it's going to stay cloudy. It's going to stay somewhat dreary. It's going to stay a little damp, a little raw out there. Temperatures are going to stay into the low to mid 40s for Monday and Tuesday. We may rise back up toward the upper 40s, but as we head into Thursday, but it's really going to depend on that next low pressure system as what we call secondary cyclogenesis forms around Kodiak by Wednesday, Thursday, as that next main low, or as the initial low begins to weaken as it lifts farther north and on into the interior. So we're going to stay cloudy, cool, and unsettled, unfortunately, as we start off the month of May. How does the rest of the month look? Well, we're also concerned about breakup, right? Because much of the interior rivers are still frozen, as we just saw on the Tanana River there at Nenana. But as we head on in through the month of May, Climate Prediction Center, with their sophisticated modeling, is leaning in the direction that we'll see warmer than normal temperatures across areas from about Nome to the Brooks Range northward to the Arctic coast, and then cooler than normal temperatures down across portions of Southwest, the peninsula, on in through the Kenai Peninsula and Kodiak as well. So interesting scenario here. Meanwhile, equal chances, I guess that's good news for the Yukon, the Kuskokwim, the Tanana rivers, both the lower end and the upper ends of those major river basins, as equal temperatures means that we won't see maybe a strong dynamic breakup. It's still unfortunately looking like it's going to be some kind of a dynamic breakup heading on into the month of May, but we'll continue to watch the outlooks being provided by the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center. One thing that does go against, or that does again favor adding to the dynamic breakup equation, is potentially above normal precipitation heading on in throughout much of Southwest and even toward the Seward Peninsula, down toward let's see, areas of around Dillingham, King Salmon, on down through Kodiak and much of the Aleutians as well. So we'll again watch that very carefully as we enter into what's going to be the heart of breakup season here over the next couple of weeks. We'll of course pass along any vital and critical information to you here from Alaska's weather source. And of course, you can always stay up to date on all the latest news, weather, and sports right here on our streaming platforms. Thanks to those of you watching on YouTube, as well as onto our streaming service as well. And don't forget our mobile apps, and as well as on Facebook. Thank you to all of you watching there as well. And of course, so we got you covered on air, online, and on demand, as we like to say, and of course at alaskasnewssource.com. I'll see you back on the late edition tonight at 10. Please join me then. Don't forget about that avalanche recap season and more great stuff coming up in the days ahead. Likely have a recap here for the month of April coming up online this week as well. Stay safe. Have a great week ahead. Finally, glad to say goodbye to April and hello to the month of May. We'll keep our fingers crossed for some much better and much improved weather conditions. Take care. Have a good night.